Hi, this video will discuss many of the short-run cost definition and terms we will use throughout this chapter. First, fixed cost. A fixed cost is a cost expense that does not change with output. One example would be your rent. Other examples would include your machines or your capital. So again, fixed cost, it doesn't change as you increase your output. So variable costs, on the other hand, this is a production cost that will change as you increase your output. For example, the number of workers you have. As you have more workers, you have more output, you have now more variable cost. If you add your fixed cost and your variable cost, you will get your total cost. This is the sum of a firm's cost of production. Once again, total cost adds your fixed cost and variable cost. The abbreviations we use for these terms, fixed cost, FC, variable cost, VC, total cost, TC. So TC is the sum of VC and FC. More generally, total cost can be notated as follows. Total cost is your variable cost. Well, what's your variable input? That's your workers or your labor. How much do you pay your workers? You pay them a wage. So your wage times the number of workers you have, your labor, will tell you your variable cost. Your fixed cost, a cost that doesn't change the output, this is your cost of capital or number of machines that you have. So take your capital, the number of units of capital that you have, and multiply it by the rental price per capital. This will give you your fixed cost. So the abbreviations economists use for wage is W, for labor it's L, for rental price is R, and for capital is big K. So your total cost then is equal to this wage times L, your variable cost, plus your R times K, your fixed cost. Let's show an example. So we have this lemonade stand. We're going to sell some lemonade. What kind of cost are we talking about here with this lemonade stand? Is this a fixed cost or a variable cost? As you sell more lemonade, do you need more stands? No, you don't. So this lemonade stand represents an example of a fixed cost, or a cost that doesn't change as you sell more lemonade. So what might a variable cost look like? How about this guy? Hiring this employee. You want to sell more lemonade? Well, hire this guy to work for you longer. So this is a cost, an example of a variable cost. A few more terms I want to define for the costs you should be familiar with. And these are the average costs. So we described previously fixed cost, variable cost, and total cost. Well, we can likewise define average fixed cost, which is found by taking your fixed cost and dividing by the output that you produce. So your fixed cost divided by output gets you average fixed cost. In a similar fashion, you can also find average variable cost. Take your variable cost and divide it by output. This will give you your average variable cost. Finally, your average cost, also known as average total cost, ATC, is your total cost divided by the units you produce, or TC divided by Q. We get you average total cost. Note there's also a second way to find average total cost, and that's simply the sum of these first two. Average fixed plus average variable gets you average total cost. And one last little snippet that will help in calculating some of these numbers is if you have average variable cost and you know how much your output is Q, then you can figure out what variable costs are. That's simply average variable cost times Q would get you variable cost. The last cost concept I want to describe is marginal cost. What is marginal cost? This is the cost to make one more unit of output. More specifically, your marginal cost is your change in total cost divided by your change in output. And when output changes by 1, it's the incremental increase in total cost. So again, marginal cost is the cost to make one more. You can also find marginal cost by finding your change in variable cost over your change in output, because your fixed cost doesn't change with output. This gives you equivalent definitions for finding marginal cost. Of all these cost concepts, marginal cost is probably the most important, because marginal cost will tell a firm where it should produce. And last but not least, let's talk about sunk cost. Sunk cost is a past expenditure that you can't get back or you can't recover. So suppose you sign a lease for $1,000 a month and you need to leave that lease early. So you sublet your apartment for $800, let's say. In that case, your sunk cost would be the $200 that you're going to lose out on because you can't get a sublease at the same rate that you leased the apartment for. So sunk cost, a cost that you can't get back.